used to do. So we're a small group. I would encourage you stop me, ask me question. I'm planning to wrap up within an hour, so probably 30 minutes slide and then 30 minutes live demo using some PowerShell and Azure, and hopefully you learn something. So stop me anytime, I don't mind. Okay, now this is the biggest test of my clicker. No.
Yeah, everybody, we're going to start the recording on this thing too.
None of this work.
Is it working?
No, it is not. So I will try to go plugged in and see if it works. Otherwise, I'm just going to do it manually. Give me a minute. Okay. No, still not. Okay, so I'm going to make my life a lot easier. Okay, so I'm not going to read my bio, but I want you to take a note of my contacts on the left of this slide. So after this talk, if you have any question, comments, feedback, you can reach out to me. I'm also going to upload the slide deck and all the code to my GitHub repo. Feel free to download, play with it. Any question, please get back to me. This is very unfortunate. I test, oh, it works. Now it's doing, so I have to insert an angle. This is a shameless plug. I didn't ask Jason to add this. Sorry about that. So I'm one of the core organizer of SQL Saturday Boston, which we are planning to do in person in Burlington, Microsoft Office, where we are right now. So the event will be on October 8th, which is a Saturday. It's free of cost. It's a whole day event. We'll have, I don't know how many sessions, but at least 20. And you do not need to pay a dime. You only have to pay a small amount of money if you want to have purchase lunch. And you can skip it and go to, buy your own lunch. We also have 2 pre-conference. Those are paid training on Friday. Those are full day. We have a discount code till end of this month. So we try to keep the price low as people are coming, post-pandemic, COVID and all that. So check this out. If you just Google it, SQL Saturday Boston 2022, it will take you to homepage and you can find all this. So why should we talk about this topic, right, tonight? Disaster recovery, high availability with Azure SQL Database. So this is a true incident in one of the Azure region in 2019, and I have a few more examples that happened after 2019. So some of the resources are out for 16 hour, 11 minutes. So if you are running a business that can afford this kind of outage, maybe this is not a talk for you, but if you cannot, then you should probably listen to what I'm going to talk about. And don't get me wrong, at my current workplace, actually, I have Azure SQL databases. They only have backups. They do not have any always on availability group or other features that I'm going to show you, because those apps, I talk with the owners and they can recover from the backup, but I also give them the SLA if that works for them, good. But once you show them the SLA, if they say, no, this is not good for us, you give them a menu like we go to a restaurant, it comes with a price, right? If they're willing to pay the price, then you do whatever they want. Oftentimes when I talk to people, right, a lot of database professionals still think that the DBAs or the data engineers or the database solution engineers, whatever you call, that we are the one going to decide the RPO, RTO. I absolutely disagree with that. That's my personal view. I think you should sit with the business owners, stakeholders, ask them questions, what they can afford, what they cannot, show them the menu, give them the price and let them choose, and then you go and implement it, right? Because if you're down, that time they're going to be on your neck, right? When it's going to be up, when it's going to be up. You don't want that, so you just tell them we already agreed on something, like let's wait for that time. So, and I'll give you some hint, if you're new to this, how you can have those conversations. So these are some of the examples, and you can go to that URL that at the top, and you can see this. So the last one was actually in July 21st. And look at the time, it started at 3:47 and the things came online at 13:30. And these are just, I filtered those just for database related resources. This is not any resource in Azure. So this list, if you go there, filter it by Azure SQL Database, this is going to come up like this. So this is not uncommon. So look at this one, from 4 to 13:30. So how many hours? It's almost 9 hours, 9.5. So because of these things happen, these are still machines. You're moving to Azure doesn't mean you are getting out of machines. So that's why I'm going to show you a couple of solutions. Hopefully you can go and talk to your stakeholders and implement some of this. So if you do not know this term, these are very common, RPO, RTO, that tells you at what point you can recover and how long it's going to take. But because now we are moving to somebody else's data center, it's not in our control. There's a new term called ERT, which is estimated recovery time, very simple English. But what really that means is in Azure, when you move, there are other components. So it's not just your VM coming up or your Azure SQL Database coming up, right? Your network, your storage, depending on your app servers, if you're doing ASR or not. So you should look at each one and you should take the maximum. Which one goes to take the maximum? That's the one you're going to publish to your business owners. So if you can bring your database in 30 minutes, but your app server is going to take 2 hours, don't go and tell them I can bring up in 30 minutes because it's no use for them if they cannot connect. So you should give them the resource that's going to take the maximum recovery time, take that and publish that as your official recovery time when you're going to talk to your business holders. And this actually also, it's not different than what we used to do our on premises, right? Because you still have multiple components, but this is a term I've been seeing lately in many articles and stuff. So I just thought I'm going to mention this. This is just a physical, like a picture, just so you can see what I'm going to talk about, what is RPO or TO. Now there's a caveat that a lot of people do not talk about this. A disaster can happen and I might not know, right? Give an example, you might do a deployment right now. It's almost, after business hour in East Coast. If you're a small bank, you shut down, you do a deployment, right? See, you ran a delete statement, you didn't have the right predicate. Maybe nobody knows till tomorrow morning, right? When the tailors come and your bank opens. So you didn't know from now till tomorrow 9 a.m. that is something went wrong. And you get the request tomorrow at 9 a.m. that something went bad, go and recover, right? So you should make that clear that your recovery time that you are promising to your stakeholders is from the time that you are notified about the disaster, right? Most of the time, if your host goes down, your power goes down, you probably will know, but there can be other incidents. So just be careful with that, make sure you talk about this with your stakeholders that, this is, I put a question mark, should this be a part of your RTO? To me, it is not, because I want to make it clear that I'm only promising you the recovery the time you notify me, not before that. Now, as you're going to be talking about Azure SQL Database, I'm not going to talk about all this. You want to know about this. The reason you will see in future slides, there are solutions that I'm going to show you that are only available in some of this hardware. So if you agreed with your stakeholder that you're going to have zone availability, for example, it's only available in Gen 5 hardware. So you don't want to deploy in FSV2 series, then go to the stakeholder and say, I want to give you zone availability. Then you have to redeploy. So do not work this way. You have to first decide what kind of solution you want and then walk back and then decide where you want to deploy this. And this is I copied from a URL. I have it at the end. You can read more about it. And one more slide that I want to talk about. You will see this a lot if you are new to Azure SQL Database. There's two models. One is a DTU model and one is a vCore model. So the DTU model is abstract. It's called Database Transaction Unit. It says there. So you really do not see how many CPUs or how much memory you have. That's all abstracted. This is first time when Azure SQL Database was deployed by Microsoft, was released. We only had DTU model. Later on, the vCore model came. Now I can see exactly how many CPU I'm getting and how much memory per CPU I get. So Microsoft do recommend that, if you're deploying new resource, you go to vCore model. But I actually still use DTU model because I noticed you can still save some money with DTU model because the lowest cost of the even with one CPU, you can get a little bit cheaper. So depending on what you need, right? But Microsoft's recommendation is to deploy in vCore. And because I get this question all the time when I show this slide that I'm in D2 model, should I convert everything to vCore? It's up to you. I did not. I still have production servers or production Azure SQL Database that running under D2 model. So we're going to talk about redundancy. And when it comes to Azure, this is how I want to think about it. And one is a deployment, because a lot of people, moving to Azure, we are expected to, deliver it quick. Someone needs something, you don't want to go to the portal and click, right? You are probably using some PowerShell, CLI, or probably some kind of template, right? ARM template or whatnot. So you want to make sure that your code is, is checked in. You have version control. So if you lose some stuff, you can quickly deploy. Like I said, I have currently production databases that are only deployed in East US 2. And I asked those business owners, if East US 2 goes down, what do you want to do? They said, we want to bring it up in Central US, because that's the paired region recommended by Microsoft. So we have all the code that we can just go and deploy in Central US, restore from backup. So you want to make sure, that's what I meant by deployment redundancy. I'm not going to talk about it, but you really want to think about that if you are in this space. Next, like in East US 2, it's a big region. It has many, many data centers. So you want to think about, if a data center goes down, what I'm going to do. Then they also have availability zone. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. And then you want to think about if your whole region goes down. And in US, we are lucky because we have many regions within US. But if you're in a smaller country, or if you're supporting in a business, say like in Singapore, or in a smaller place, you want to think about geography redundancy, because it comes with the challenge. I worked for a company that had contract with UK government. Now, if you are working for UK government, your data cannot pass the geographical boundary of United Kingdom. Now, if you are working in a country like that, you cannot replicate to a different country. How do you do redundancy, right? So you want to discuss that with your, with your business partners. You want to make sure that you all are on board. Now, these are some of the stuff that I'm going to talk about. Some of you might be surprised that I put temporal table here. I know this is not a HADR solution, but if you have that turned on, you can go back to previous versions of your records. So if you deleted something, or if you updated by mistake without a proper predicate, if you're using temporal table, I just want to mention that you can go back and recover some of that. And there's no difference between on-premises and in cloud using temporal table. But again, you want to go back to that slide that I showed you, what level of deployment you are doing. There are some restrictions, especially on the column store tables and stuff. So you want to look at that more details, but I'm not going to talk about that. So before I start talking about this is just an example, and I'm going to come back to this point over and over, right? Because this is important that I see a lot of data professionals miss, and they make the decision by themselves, and when things go south, they are not on board, or they're not in the same page with the business owners. So you can show that somebody doesn't want to spend money. They said, can I just rely on the backup? And you can tell them yes, but then you might lose 1 hour of data. And for me to restore in a different region, it might take up to 12 hours. So can the business wait for 12 hours? They said, okay, nice, go ahead. If they say no, you show them the next one. They say no, you show them the next one, right? And I put a URL at the bottom here that will give you more details about this. So let's talk about automated backup. As soon as you deploy Azure SQL Database, and I'm strictly talking about tonight about PaaS service. I'm not going into hyperscaler or managed instance because some of the things that I'm going to talk about are not applicable there. And within an hour, if we want to cover all three flavors, I think it's going to take a little bit longer. So whatever I'm speaking is strictly for Azure SQL Database in PaaS. As soon as you deploy without doing anything, you get a point in time restore capability for up to 7 days. And you do not have to do anything. The backups happen behind the scene. Except basic tier, you can expand that up to 35 days. You can also set up long-term retention. One thing you lose is, and I mentioned here, you lose control of precise RPO, recovery point objective. And why do I say that? This is strange. This is a quote from the Microsoft documentation, and if you read this, it says that your backup times are depending on the system workload, right? And you cannot change the schedule of the backup. So what I mean by this, if I'm, we are used to setting up backups using SQL Server agent, and I can exactly mention that I want a backup every 10 minutes of transaction log, right? I want the differential backup exactly at 9 p.m. every night. I want a full backup on a Saturday night. You lose control of that here. Because if you look at this table, it says the transaction log can happen 5 to 10 minutes in between. Even the differential is 12 to 24 hours. Your full is a weekly, but it doesn't give you a date and time. So you really lose that precise control on your backup. So you want to make sure that your business owners also understand that. I already mentioned that except basic tier, you can expand this up to 35 days. You can also have long-term backup. So for some businesses, like I work for investment management firm, a 35 days backup is not enough for us, right? FTC can come and they want to look at a trade that happened, few years ago, and we have to restore and show them the details. So you can have long-term retention up to 10 years, and you can also ship those to a different zone if you want to. So how does the long-term retention backup works, right? You have a weekly backup, you have a monthly backup, and you have a yearly backup. And the term of yearly backup is kind of confusing. That what's the yearly backup when you talk about database? So the way Azure defines is, you say my 5th week, or say like my 10th week of 10th week's backup, I tag that as my yearly backup and keep that for 10 years. So every 10th week's backup is going to save for next 10 years. That's how they determine what's a yearly backup. Now, I get this question, what can I do with these backups? You can restore in the same server, or it's a logical server with a different name. You can delete that database and you can restore with the same name, or you can rename it. You can also bring up another Azure SQL server in the same region and you can restore. Even if the whole region goes down, you can spin up Azure SQL server in a different region and you can restore there. Just a caution, if you delete a database, you can still recover the point in time from the point in time backup. If you delete the server, you cannot. You can only restore from long-term retention. So keep that in mind before you delete a Azure SQL server. Sometimes I get these questions. As per Microsoft documentation, they do test restore on our backups. They do run dbc checkdb and checksum. If you are running a managed instance, some of these things doesn't happen. So if you're running a managed instance, you might have to set up some of your own. Another question I get all the time, can I restore this on premises? No, you cannot. You cannot take those backups and bring it to your on-premises SQL server. I mentioned a couple of tools. I'm not going to go any more details. You can leverage some of these tools and you can probably reconstruct your schema and your data. These are not straightforward. You have to do some coding and then you can do that. Any question before I move to the next one?
We have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, this is Srinath here. Yeah, I was looking for, we have a SQL database in on-prem. Can we do a DR on Azure Cloud? That's what the question I posted.
Yeah, you can do, you can set up a SQL Server on Azure VM. You can set up a multi-subnet Windows Server failover cluster, and you can set up, even without cluster, you can set up log shipping there. You can set up always an availability group. I would definitely talk to your network guys. This is, in my personal experience, we've been doing this for a year and a half. We are tweaking our network over a year and a half now because we are shutting down a whole data center. I'm not going to go into details, but make sure you talk to your network folks because a lot of the standard settings on your Windows Server failover cluster is going to give you grief if you do not configure those for your multi-subnet cluster. Your listener have to have 2 IP, depending on what version you're using, what kind of driver your apps are using, how your connection string is going to work. So it's a little bit more involved than having a Windows Server failover cluster in on-premises between two data center where you have dark fiber connected.
Yeah, basically we are looking for a direct connect also. So once we establish that, probably we can use the Azure Cloud as DR. That's what our plan is. Is that?
Yeah,
Is
when you
is
say
that a good idea?
direct connect, you mean express route?
Express route, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you still want to look at some of the stuff that I just told you.
Okay.
It sounded like that to me a year and a half ago. If you ask me, I would say just go and do it. But after battling this for almost, like I said, it's doable. I'm doing it. I have, bunch of, I'm not going to give you a number because I work for a full-time company, but I have a bunch of this set up. So, but it takes some work and, you need to bring some other people, not just database professionals.
Okay, got it. Any few highlighter challenges if you faced, if you can just put it across.
Yeah, like I said, some of the cluster settings, and Microsoft actually now have documented multi-subnet cluster settings that where you should, make it a little bit longer. Like, sometimes you have it select for 10 seconds. Now you might want to set it to 30 seconds. And then you want to, talk to your network folks, how they're going to route this, how it's going to get to, sometimes, some companies like from Boston, a lot of people go through Chicago and then they go to south, to Virginia. Can you go straight, depending on if you have a small data? There's a lot of things. So, I don't
Understood, got it. Yeah, I don't want to take much of your time.
Yeah, but you can reach out to me, maybe, I can send you some stuff without, giving my company specific information. So
sure, please, it would be helpful if you can share those information. Yeah, because yes. we are looking for it. Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Anything else, Justin?
Nope, that's
Okay.
it so far.
Okay. So as soon as you deploy a Azure SQL database, doesn't matter what tier, you automatically get some built-in high availability and disaster recovery capability. And I'm going to demo this. Microsoft actually released a PowerShell function command just to test this. Before people just trusted this, now I can show you how this works. So we'll look at this in the demo, but I'm not going to read all this, but just to show you how this thing works. So in a basic, standard, and general purpose, what happened is, as you see here, you have two tiers. One is the stateless, right? And when I say stateless, if you see at the top, like the SSD and the TempDB, the data and log file is not attached to it. You only have the compute, and the SSD only has TempDB and the model database and a couple of, your memories, stuff in the memory. So if the control ring or the fabric detect, let me see if my wrong with my fancy, I don't know. If it detects that there's something wrong with your compute, what is marked as a primary replica, what it's going to do, it is going to detach your data and log file. It is going to spin up another SQL Server.exe in another VM where you have capacity. Then it is going to attach the same data and log file, and then you are back into business. And you do not have to do anything, but it is, if you read any documentation, Microsoft always recommend you should have retry on your connection string. As long as you have a retry, it will automatically retry. And I'll demo that too, when I go to the demo. And your backups are standard right here. Your backups are getting copied. Those are locally redundant. So, within your region, your data and log file automatically getting copied. So that's about this. But if you go to the next tier, which you are paying more money for premium and business critical, what happens here, if you look at this picture, the difference is your data and log file is attached to your compute. So you're really getting 4 copies of your data and log file. And this one is pretty fast. So if the fabric determines that one of your replica is down, it is just going to fail you over. It doesn't have to do the detach and attach. So it's less than 10 seconds. Even from here, when we demo, I haven't tried from Microsoft. From my home, it's within 16 seconds. I can get reconnected automatically. And you can use some of those secondary replicas for your read-only traffic. So I'll show that also in your connection string. If you say application intent equals read-only, your traffic is going to go to the secondaries, and you are not incurring any extra charge for that. Because you're on premium and business critical tier, you automatically get those. So you should take advantage of those. The way Microsoft does this, one of the replica has to get all transactions before you get your commit back. So out of the three, one is always in sync. And that's the one is going to choose to fail over if you have an issue, or if you have a problem. So far it's built in, right? We didn't spend any extra money. Oh, now clicker works when I don't want it. I'm not going to use it. Okay, so far we haven't spent any extra money, right? We just deployed it, we get backup, we get built-in HADR. Now we are talking about spending some extra money. So far we have data center redundancy. If you remember, I showed you 5 things. Now we are talking about zone. So what's the zone? So within the big regions, right, say like East US 2, in any region, if Microsoft say that we have zone, they have to have at least 3 different zones. So what they do, they take all the data center and divide them into 3 different zones like this. And each zone has its own power, its own cooling, and its own network. Independent. And here again, you have 2 tiers. If you're in general purpose, I didn't put this in the slide because it becomes too noisy. Make sure you know that what region you are deploying. As of right now, I checked today, 4 of the regions have this in general availability, and 4 of the zones have it in public preview. So I know like some businesses, they do not encourage you to deploy resources that are in still preview. So just make sure you know if you want to turn this on. This is disabled by default. In general purpose, this is going to incur extra money. So if you turn this on, you'll be paying more money. Just keep that in mind. The reason they keep it in disabled state, because as soon as you turn it on, you need synchronous replication. That means your acknowledgement is going to take a little bit more longer time. So this is a trade-off, right? Can your users can wait for that acknowledgement to be a little bit longer because you want to have zone availability. And it's the same concept that what I showed you. The top tier is stateless. Your data and log files are not attached. So it is going to move you to a different zone. Your data and log file is getting copied to all 3 zones, and it's going to attach it back, and then you're back into business. Right? But just keep that in mind that it's going to cost you extra money, and you have to turn it on manually. If you're in premium and business critical, still it's disabled by default, but if you turn it on, you are not paying any extra money because you're already in premium and business, you're already paying more money, and because your data and log file is already getting copied, and they'll just switch you to the one that's more recent, sync.
So the synchronous replication increased network latency, which is like a real-time replication with the synchronous replica.
Yep.
So do we need to take care of something from the network side to? Like,
no, you cannot, right? It's just to aware of this. So you want to have your users test, because now their acknowledgement is going to take a little bit more longer, maybe a few more milliseconds, right? Because now you're waiting this to get copied. So this is something you want to talk with your business partners. Okay, you want this, but now the app is going to be a little bit slower to the users, right? So you test this before you turn this on.
Right.
Or you turn it on, test it, and then decide you want to keep it or not.
Yeah,
right? Okay. Yeah, because now you're moving from asynchronous to synchronous. Yeah. So that's something I want to mention that here. Any questions so far? Just if you see anything, let me know. Again, I'm going to stop here. Like I said, I'm going to hammer this point again and again. This is a URL. When you get the slide deck, this takes you to a Microsoft page. It has very detailed SLAs published with percentage and guaranteed and all that. Please read that, because your SLA will change if you turn on availability zone, and if you do not turn it on, you get a little bit more. You get 9995 and you get 999, I think. So again, read that. And I have a couple of pointers at the end. So now we are moving out to active geo replication, which is going to give you redundancy at a region level. So we talked about data center, we talked about zone within a region. Now we are going out of the region. So if the whole East US2 goes down, you have the ability now to bring up your resources in Central US, because I'm going to mention Central because that's Microsoft recommended. You can do it in another zone if you want to. or another region. The way it works, the code is actually written on top of always on availability group that we are used to on premises for many years, right? It's the same code, it's the same concept, but keep this in mind, this is individual database level. Because when Azure SQL Database was released, actually, Microsoft always pushed for, that one database will support one application, right? Because they talked about, logins and everything should be contained within the database. But as we know, like many applications really doesn't work that way. People started using multiple databases supporting one application. So, and I'll go to that in the next slide. But this is at a database level, continuously getting replicated to the secondary, and then you can fail over if you need to a secondary region, right? This connection string redirect is not automatic. So someone in your app support or whoever is maintaining this, they really have to change the code. They really have to redirect the app to the new server. You do not have automatic redirection with this.
Does that mean the other ones that you mentioned so far, the connection string will redirect?
No, it will not automatically redirect with this, but there's another solution I'll show you on top of this, which will automatically redirect. Here is also secondaries can be used for read-only traffic, which I said before. In your connection string, you can take advantage, but that will be a little bit behind because this is asynchronous replication, right? This is a transactionally consistent. You're not going to have partial transaction, but you're not going to have all these transactions up to date there. Now, if you have important transaction that you definitely want to make sure that it makes to the secondary, take advantage of this store procedure. But again, when you use that within a transaction, your user is going to wait till this transaction get copied to the secondary. Not getting replayed, but it has to get copied and hardened in the secondary. So you can use it, but use it wisely. If you use it all over the place, things are going to slow down. And you can look up in the books online, for more details. So I talked about a single database failover, but if you have a bunch of databases that we are used to on premises, we have availability groups, right? We group bunch of database, we fail over availability group, all these databases fail over, they are consistent in transaction. And Microsoft came out with this auto failover group. It's built on top of that what I just showed you, but here you can group a bunch of databases together and fail them over. And also, what Jason said, you get listener here. You get two listener, one for read write, one for read only. And once you set this up, send those listeners, whoever is setting up your application, they should use those listener names instead of the hard-coded server name. Because if you have the listener name, if you fail over, fail back, it will automatically redirect to the correct server. You do not have to do anything. There's some differences here. As you can see in the picture, now I have multiple databases. In the previous picture, I had one database. Now here you can group. And there are also some other restrictions, which I have a table I'll show you, but this URL will give you more details. And this is how the listeners look like. So you use your failover group name, and for your read-only traffic, you use the secondary. Here you don't have the secondary name. So as soon as you create this, you should send this to them, whoever is setting up, and then you should be good to go. This is a setting when you set up failover groups that the documentation was not very clear. So I worked with a product group, some PMs, especially Dimitri Farman. We went back and forth, updated the documentation. But I also put a blog post, what I learned from that. So make sure you look at this setting, especially if you're in a small shop who doesn't monitor this 24/7, you leave it on the Microsoft, you definitely want to know what this setting means. If you have a 24/7 shop, you probably don't want to use it. You want to do it manually. Because for Microsoft to fail over a region is going to be a big deal. So they don't do it right away. They take time to decide, if they really want to shut down a whole region or not. So you might want to make some decisions by yourself before that, depending on your business criticality. There's some differences between geo replication and auto failover groups. I kind of put this together so it's easy for you to consume. I'm not going to read this, but there are some important factors to look at. I get this question, can I check my replication status? How behind, how far? This is a very simple query. I didn't invent this. This is a DMV that you can just use. I just want to mention that. I talked about talking to your business partners many times, and at least I mentioned it 5 times. These are some of the questions that I use. If someone come to me today that they want to move an application to cloud or it's a new app, that what's the RPO, RTO, what kind of solutions they want. So if you're new to this is not an exhaustive list, but these are some of the pointers that will get you going to have some conversations with your business partners and dev leads. And just when someone has a hands up, any question?
Yeah, I'm asking.
Sure. So you can take this list, and if you have some questions that is not listed here, send those to me. I'll add those in this slide. So I'm really done talking. I'm going to go to the demo, show you a couple of things. So it'll be a good time to ask me a question. So I'm not going to move that much. I'm just going to operate from here. Make sure I get this on the.
So I have a question on automated backups.
Yes, Sylvia.
So for automated backups, what is the retention, default retention?
7 days. 7 days point in time. You get with any deployment without you doing anything. If you're not into basic tier, you can slide it up to 35 days.
Yeah. So
that's point in time.
Okay.
And then you have long-term retention, which I'll show you. You have to set that up separately. Up to 10 years.
If some of the clients, they ask that, okay, 35 days retention with the business critical tier is sufficient, but they have their own contractual obligation to keep for certain data up to 10 years.
Yeah, that's when you set up long-term retention.
Right. But now if you have to restore that data from the long-term retention, 10 years, right?
Yeah.
How would be the latency? Like what kind of, because now we don't want to claim that we can restore that 9th year of previous 9th year from now, previous data within 2 days. So because that's like a different layer of storage. So what kind of timeline we should have if we end up working on those kind of restore requests?
From the long-term retention, I don't know if Microsoft has a published RPO or 2. I can look that up. What Microsoft has published, your point in time backups, if a region goes down, say like East US 2 goes down, you want to restore in Central US, it's 12 hours.
Okay.
That's the official SLA. It's 12 hours. It might take up to 12 hours for you to restore it.
Okay.
But I don't know for long-term retention. I don't know if they even provide a SLA.
Okay.
Because long-term retention is really not designed for high availability or disaster recovery. That's the point in time.
Yeah.
Long-term is like I said in my company, if FTC comments, I want to see a trade that you have done for so many years, we're going to go to long-term retention. And today we do it. We have take backups, we recall, Iron Mountain, bring it, we mount it, it takes us 2 days, right? Yeah. So these are really not for a disaster recovery solution, right?
Yeah, no.
So I can look it up. I really don't know off my head if they have a SLA. I doubt if they're going to publish one because they're mostly like cold storage to keep the cost down.
Yeah. That must we should jump under those lights to have that motion.
Is that a timer thing?
Sometimes it might be like a motion.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. So any other question?
Thanks, Taiob.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, if not, so I'm going to go start some demos. So what I did before all of you came online, my demo starts here, and I'm actually using a tool called Azure Data Studio. This is by Microsoft. It's a multi-platform tool. It's very lightweight. And what do you mean by lightweight? You can just install it as is and not do anything, but it's extension based. So you need any more features, you enable extensions. And you can enable it for a few hours, few days, you are done, you can disable it. You can keep it as light as you need or make it as heavy as you need. And I'm using something called a notebook. I'm not going to go into details. This is using a PowerShell kernel. You can look it up. Notebooks are pretty cool because you can have your comment, pictures, code. I can save the output, send it to you. So that's all I'm using. So, I said demo starts here, but before that, there is a bunch of code that I already deployed because I do not want you to sit here in front of me in this evening and see I'm deploying the resources. So I'll show you what I have done so far. I created a resource group, which is just a logical container. So it's easy for me to delete after this and save my money. And so I deployed 3 servers, and they're logical servers, and I only have 2 databases. And I do not have any high availability or disaster recovery solution. I just deployed this. And so I'm going to build on top of this and show you a couple of things that I just talked about. So Jason is going to monitor. If you have any question, please stop me. So automated backup, right? Survi just asked, what do I get, right? So if you run this, and all these are PowerShell commands, I can do all this from GUI. I'll show you some of this stuff, but I just want to do it from here so you can take my code and you can reproduce it. So if we go to the portal right now, and if we go to this database, actually, sorry, for backup, I have to go to a server, go to, and now this is a database. And if I look at the retention, I don't know if I have my Zoom. Oh, good. So this is what Survi was asking, what I get by default. And I said that a few times, say, this is what I get. I haven't done anything. Point in time restore, 7 days. As you can see, I do not have any long-term retention, right? These are all empty. And what I can do now, I can click this, and I'll also give you the PowerShell command. I can say configure policy. And as you can see here, I can slide it up to 35 days. Unless I'm in a basic tier. If I'm in basic tier, I cannot. I'm stuck to 7 days. And I can also set up my long-term retention here. So I'm not going to do it from here. I'm going to close this. Like I said, I do not, I want to do it from PowerShell so all of you can reproduce this. So this is the command. So I'm saying keep my weekly for 12 weeks, keep my yearly for 5 years. What does the yearly means? 16th week of the year, keep that for 5 years. So I can set this up from here. And it's going to take a few seconds, so depending on, I don't know, from here going to Ashburn or in Virginia area, wherever the data center is. I deployed everything in East US to be as close as possible. So this is done. Now, if we go to the portal now, refresh this, you can see this now, right? What I said, we have a long-term retention. And if you want to check, we can check again. It gives us the retention. If you say, remove it to save money, this is the command. I just put this so you have the command handy if you want to remove the long-term retention. So far I say that I haven't set up any built-in HADR, right? I trusted Microsoft, right? That if I have a disaster, they will automatically switch me to a different, within a data center, to a different compute. So how do we prove that? If you go to the portal, I showed that I have one database that's in general purpose, and I have another database in business critical tier. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use a command called ostress. I put a URL here. Ostress is also a tool by Microsoft. You can generate workload. It's pretty cool. You can say, run this select statement from 20 app servers without you setting up anything, just to generate some load, right? I use it all the time. It's very handy. So what we're going to do here, we're going to say, go against this server, do a select count, and repeat this 50,000 times, right? And then we'll do a failover. This is a command. This is just for test purpose, this command. If you run it once, Microsoft won't let you to run it for another 15 minutes. So don't keep running it. This is just for initial setup, make sure it's working. Or if someone questions you, you can show them. But this is really not for us to do the failover. Microsoft will do it automatically. So let's look at this. I'm going to do it in a business critical. So, maybe we get a little bit quick response. Okay, hopefully I remember. No, I did not, so I made a mistake. No. Okay, I might have to show all of you my password now, which I did not want to. Close it now. Oh dear. Still connected, exiting because of control. Okay. Just gonna reload this and give it another shot. No. Let me get my password. I don't know if I didn't want to show it to everyone, but
You can stop sharing.
no, it's okay. I can. This is just my demo. If someone wants to get into this, that's fine. I have it in a variable, so let me load this up.
It will be on YouTube, remember?
I can change it. It picks up from not a big deal. See password text. Maybe I should. So just give me a minute. Sorry about that. That's what I thought I'm doing. So
I can edit it out too.
let me try the other one. Oh gosh. I have no idea.
This maybe needs an additional.
Do you want to check if your caps lock is on by mistakenly or something?
No, I did. So I tested this morning, but Try my server. I'm going to give it last shot, others I'm going to move on. But you can try those commands. Let me know if I have no idea why it's not working at this time. No? Okay, I'm not going to try this again, so let's move on. So you can, run this command. It should do the select, give you a result, and then if you run this command, it will automatically fail over and show you a reconnect. I have no idea because I'm online. I can connect to Azure. I tested this, and I can also, just to prove my point, maybe just see here if I have. That can be a thing, or maybe my IP address changed. So let me try this. Actually, that gives me a hint, so I might try that. Probably because my IP changed when I came to this office. Okay. So now if we go back. Yep. So it's working now. As you can see, it's doing the select, right? Now, if we run this command, you will see that your connections are failing, and you'll see automatically connect without me doing anything else. So now it's detach, attach the data and log file, move, start up a SQL Server .exe in another host, another VM, and then attach the data and log files. If I was doing it in the other server, that would have been quicker. That's a lesson if you start presenting in person, right? You have to add your IP addresses. I'm not used to this for over 2 years.
Don't get out much.
Huh?
Don't get out much.
See, now I start connecting again. So I didn't do anything. It's connected automatically.
Is it connecting to the failover side automatically?
Yep. Yep.
Great.
Yep. Okay, sorry about that. Took a little bit longer than expected. So if you see this result, it didn't really take 46 seconds. The 46 seconds is to get the acknowledgement back coming to my laptop, right, to show me here. But, I'm sure if the round trip is 46 seconds, it's probably start connecting a lot, and plus this is my personal laptop. I'm sure you'll have more fancy gears at your data center. And this is in general purpose. If I was doing this in business critical, which I'm not going to do anymore for the interest of time, it will be a lot faster because if you remember in the business critical, you do not have to detach the data and log file and attach it, right? So you save that time. Okay, so that's a lesson because I haven't presented in person for a while. And yeah, this one is even from this morning when I tested from my home. This was a 16-second round trip for the business critical. So that's a lot faster. Okay. So let's talk about active geo-replication. So if we go to the portal again, and if we look at this database, and if we go to the replicas, you see here that I do not have anything set up, right? Because I haven't done anything. And now if you want to set it up, a replica to another region, too many things open now. These are the commands. You give it, the region and the server. You have a, empty Azure SQL server, and it is going to start replicating the database and make a copy and start asynchronous replication. So if we go here right now.
These are the managed instances, right?
No, these are PaaS Azure SQL Database. I'm not showing anything in managed instance tonight.
Okay.
So now you see here that we have a secondary in West US and our primary is in East US, right? It got set up. Oh, sorry. And once that is done, we can do a failover. You use this command as a SQL database secondary, and then you pass it, all the required parameters with the failover, and you can do that. We can see that it's done, over here, but it's probably sitting right now. As you see, the sitting is 0%. I never see anything in between. I either see 0 or 100. That's, I think, typical with many Microsoft products, that, it doesn't show your intermediate result set.
The previous one which we've seen was zone redundancy. This is region
Yes.
redundancy, right?
Yes,
Okay.
This is region, right? As you saw here, we are in two different regions. We are in East US and West US. So far what I have shown you is within the same region.
Okay, yep.
Yep. So now we are going, assuming say like whole East US is down. Now I move to West US, right? So I set up, I didn't do anything. Now I'm going to do a failover.
Can't we have it as active? In the case of one goes down, the other will be serving, right?
The other will automatically come up.
Yeah, because it's taking time to come up, right? That's why I'm thinking. Can we
Yeah.
have active setup kind of?
No, here you have to because you have to change your connection string. So you have. This is I'm just showing you. In that case, you have to go and when you go to the next set, if you're using listener, you don't have to do anything. But here you have to manually change your connection strings.
Okay.
So if we refresh it now, you see that our primary is in West US and our secondary is in East US, right? So it changed the role.
Got it. But it's a read replica, basically what we are having in the secondary.
Yes. SQL Server still doesn't do, multi-node writes like, probably some other database systems.
Okay, got it.
Yep. So just going to fail over and then, for the next one. So next one is auto failover group. The advantage of auto failover group, as I said, you can have multiple databases. they will be failover transactionally consistent, and you can have listener. And if you use the listeners, you do not have to change your connection string. It will take care of it by itself. And there's another distinction in Portal that people sometimes get confused, because failover group is, you can have multiple databases. If you're in a database pane, you would not see failover groups. You only see replica. To see the failover groups, you really have to be in the server, and then you will see the failover group, right? So we do not have any right now. We're going to create one, and then we're going to add a database, and that will be the last demo. We create a failover group. And this is the setting I was talking about, grace period with database loss hours. This is in hours. So you really want to read about this and make sure you understand what it does and set it up correctly. Otherwise, you might regret later on. So right now we have a failover group. We have no database here, right? There's no database. I just set it up. And as soon as you set up, you get these two listeners that I've been talking about. And you want to put this in your connection string. And now if we go here, I'm going to add a database to the failover group, and I can add multiple databases. This one will be quick because it's already synced from my previous demo. So it's going to take advantage of that. If I didn't do that, it's going to start a raw sync or, sync from the beginning. There's no refresh button. That's where I'll go here. Now we see the one database, right? It's saying we have one eligible and that one. Now you see here, it is syncing between the two. And then I have some code to fail over. And also, if you want to see the details of about any failover group, you can see that. And here you can do a couple of things. You can also add database from portal. You can remove database. You can see some details. I should be able to see the configuration details or edit configuration. If you have some people call this like operation center 24/7, you probably don't want to set this into automatic. You probably want to keep it manual. But if you're a small shop, you can set it up from 1 to 24 hours. It will wait for, whenever it detects incident, it will wait for 2 hours. Then it will automatically fail you over to the other region. So, this is a setting that you want to be careful. I just want to mention that again. And that's all I have for demo. If someone wants to see how the read scale out work, I know this is not a HADR solution, but I mentioned it a few times how you can use your secondary. So I put some code, you can test it. You can take the connection string, put application intent equal to read only, and that will show you that your connection is going to a read-only database. You can do that. So I'm going to go back to the slide. I know we had a small hiccup, so if you got confused, in between any of this, please send me a note, and then I'll be happy to, answer those questions, comments, anything you have. And I know there's a bunch of resources because there are many options. If you want to really implement this, read more. There are examples with CLI, PowerShell, all kind of examples in those. So I put everything here. I will refresh my GitHub repo. I'll send a link to Jason to send it to the group. Then you can download everything. And then my contacts again in case if you need. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. My lesson is in person. as your IP address, when you go to the new place and get a new wireless connection.
So who all is interested in being in the raffle for the Dev Reach ticket?
I'm not.
What is it called?
What is it for?
Dev Reach. It's a conference in Boston, starts September 11th. Let me see if I
Okay.
can.
Yes, September 11th, and it goes to, that's a Sunday, and it goes to Wednesday, the 14th.
I know we have one person interested.
I'm interested.
What is this conference for?
It is .NET stuff. I don't know, how would you pronounce, here we go, here's the overview. What and why, DevReach for all, coming to you live from Progress 360. It's got JavaScript stuff, Angular, React, and more. .NET stuff, Blazor, Maui, .NET 7. And developer mosaic, so debugging stuff, designing, accessibility, that sort of stuff. So it sounds like your typical developer conference. We've got the link in the.
Do you want to share your thing or no?
It looks like.
You can take the share if you
Yeah,
want.
let me jump up there.
Yeah, so people can see what you are.
So we'll need. So Tim is interested, and I know we have one person online. Was there anyone else? It's going to
We
be.
have at least two on, we have currently two asking to be included online here, Srinath and Lakshmi.
All right, great. So we've got 33% chance. Which is. All right, so here, give you a little bit more of an idea. This is the site, in case you haven't had a chance to look at it. Just read off the blocks at the top there. There's a few of the speakers.
We are not able to see the screen yet.
They're not. Okay, I know why. Let me share my screen in Teams meeting. Thank you very much. That's the complexity added with hybrid meetings. We can see it here. Let's try.
Still not. Yeah.
Here we go. How about now? Can you see it now?
Finally now, yeah. Very good.
Lerman, I know that.
All right, so I just read off these blocks basically, what and why. Here's some speakers. Julie, those of you around here probably know Julie. It's been a long time since we've seen her in person. Here's the topics. Web, mobile, desktop, debugging, testing, accessibility, design. Sounds pretty much dev-oriented. Which makes sense. It's called DevReach, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've got, we still only have 3 people. All right, so let's find the random number generator. Bill, do you have the list of the 3 people? We have 2 people.
I believe there are 2 online here, Jason, and we say, do you want an order for them?
Yeah, and a Tim.
Yeah. Oh,
So-
Tim?
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have 3 then. So let's say it's Srinath 1, Lakshmi 2, Tim 3.
All right, so here goes. You guys have a pretty good chance. Wait. Let's do 3 to get it warmed up because, this thing's crazy. 1, 2, 3. All right, so the next one is going to count. Okay, here we go. This is going to be it. 3, number 3. Who was 3? Tim.
I was 30?
Tim, all right. All right, well, thanks. Well, it ended up being something, we originally had thought we would just give to people that actually attended to try to get the attendance up, but I didn't get around to announcing it. So we made it available to everyone, but it ended up being someone who's physically here. So awesome. Thank you all for joining this evening. I will get the recording up probably tomorrow sometime on YouTube. So if you want to watch his demos again, you can see it on the YouTube channel. We'll put links to his resources and the YouTube. Yep, Bill just posted the YouTube channel there. We'll put the links in the meetup site, so you can easily get them there as well. So, all right, thank you all for joining and coming this evening, and we will end it here. Thanks, everybody.
Take care all. Thanks again, Taiob.
Thank you, Bill. Submit for SQL Saturday. Bill, Veronica.
Veronica had to jump at 7. I pinged her though.
Yeah.
All right, I want to stop this.
Thanks a lot, Tim.
Right, so it's there, we're off. Yeah, thanks for presenting, man. That's really, I like that talk, it's good talk.
Yeah, it's
Practical stuff.
yes. I mean, this is